Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of March 23rd, 2014. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. Well, this week is a build-up towards a new moon that's taking place next week, right at the start of next week. So I would encourage you to watch your horoscope for March and April, depending on your sign, depending on how important it's going to be for you. I did speak about it in these monthly horoscopes for 2 months, actually. And really, there's so much harmony happening in the sky, especially in the early part of the week. However, because we're building towards this very unpredictable sort of breakthrough energy of the new moon, and in order for breakthroughs to happen, usually you've got to have some anticipation. Some people call that tension. Some people call that pressure. You've got to have that energy build in order for the breakthrough to happen, in order for the understanding to happen. Things have to sort of simmer beneath the surface. And so that energy is going to be with us this week. However, what's also going to be with us is a lot of harmonious conversations between Mercury and other power players in the sky. Mercury is now in Pisces, comfortably in Pisces, out of shadow, as I spoke of last week. Sort of all the retrogrades and stuff that Mercury went through, really since January, Mercury was either in shadow or in retrograde. So now Mercury's done walking that path 3 times, now is on a fresh new course. And as he starts this fresh new course, he's reaching out in harmony with Jupiter and with Pluto, which does suggest that there's a lot of clarity and a lot of determination, especially on a level of mind, but it blends spirit. Mercury is in a water sign in Pisces. Jupiter is in Cancer, another water sign, and Pluto is in an earth sign. So you add all this inspiration, especially between Mercury and Jupiter. Jupiter really known for expanding, magnifying whatever other planet he's speaking with. You add this really expanded energy of mind, of understanding that touches spirit as well. And then you add Pluto, which is really potency and which is transformative energy. You put these together and it does suggest that we understand something really deeply on a level of spirit, that what's happening now, whatever tension is building, whatever anticipation is building, ultimately is for our ultimate best and ultimately is for our good. So we're embracing the process. So there's a healthy mix of tension. As I keep saying, not tension, let's call it anticipation, right? Let's call it, we know that change is coming and we're excited about it and we just can't wait for it, because really it's ultimately the same feeling. It's just about how you label it. And so we've got that feeling, and at the same time we have the faith, and we're clear about our faith that this is actually going to lead to some really, really good things. What we also have happening towards the end of the week is a very interesting phenomenon. We've got Venus speaking in harmony with Mars. Venus moving through Aquarius, speaking in harmony with Mars in Libra, a retrograde Mars in Libra. You put these together, I mean, this is just such a classical aspect for a really romantic vibe in the air. And that would be normally true. However, there's a couple of things. One is, remember, Mars is retrograde, okay? So Mars is operating not so much from his, the part of him that we understand as the ruler of Aries, sort of running out there with his sword in his hand and being very valiant in a very external kind of way. But when Mars is retrograde, I found that he behaves much more like the ancient ruler of Scorpio, really. And we've sort of forgotten what's called the night aspects of a lot of these planets and the ancient rulerships. So because Mars is already in this position where he's just much more reflective, understanding that real power comes from within, understanding the importance of being strategic, okay, and understanding what it means to truly win, okay, what battles are worth fighting, what are not. At the same time, Venus is speaking in a conversation of tension known as a square with Saturn. Now, this is really Saturn, when you think about it, Saturn is honoring the physical plane. And Saturn has traditionally, and this conversation has traditionally been linked with limitation. Okay. And so you put these together and it does suggest that on the one hand, we're feeling like, yes, we can have what we want. We want to go out there. But at the same time, we have to become aware, or we are made aware, that there are factors that we have no control over. And ultimately, really, that's a big lesson in love for all of us, that to love is a course, is a lesson in powerlessness. It is a lesson in understanding that this other person, it's been said, I often recommend to clients and through personalized horoscopes, there's this great book out there. It's called Eros and Pathos, Shades of Love and Suffering, written by a Jungian analyst. And in it, he talks about to love is to be intimately knowledgeable of the notion of betrayal. Because in some way or other, our partner, and I know that this could sound a little not so great on the surface, but hear me out. I actually found this really empowering to understand that our partner, and to love really is to understand the preciousness of that love, because that person is going to leave you. Either that person will die eventually, or that person will choose to leave, or they will do something that makes you want to leave. And when you look at love that way, you understand that right in the moment is where the beauty is and where the power is. Now, it may be such intense emotions as this notion, but I think a much more likely scenario itself, I say that because we have Mars retrograde and it's trine. And so there's this understanding that, okay, I'm going to love for the moment, even though this could lead to something that doesn't feel so good in the big picture, or even though this raises a lot of my fears and a lot of my issues, and even though this raises, my worries about how much I'm going to invest, about how much this is going to last, all of this can come up with a retrograde Mars speaking in harmony, and yet at the same time there's willingness. But with Saturn involved, it does suggest that, at least for all of us, in love at least, we're understanding not only our own powerlessness, but that love has a timetable of its own, and our partners are going to do things that maybe we wish were different. And it's not necessarily that it has to be anything that is malicious, okay? It can just be that this is the way it is right now. This is the way reality is. Right now, your partner has to go on an extended trip. Or right now, your partner needs to have the apartment for a lot of people visiting. Whatever the case may be, there's a need to accept love. There's a need to accept the other person and the circumstances as they are, knowing that they're not always going to be that way. And so I do think that there's a lot of attention this week paid to levels of mind and inspiration. And at the same time, there's this tension building, knowing breakthroughs are coming. And while we wish that love could be our solace, in a way it can, because there are compromises and there is an expanded desire for love. And at the same time, you become aware that love has its limits as well. So how all this speaks to your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. Well, Mars, your ruling planet, is speaking with Venus towards the end of the week in supreme harmony. This does suggest that, and keeping in mind that Mars is retrograde, this does suggest to me that you are coming to an understanding of what love is truly going to mean for you. And now, keep in mind, it is ultimately a new moon in your sign that is coming up. You are the one approaching some really big breakthroughs. And so be open to having lots of conversations and be open to really understanding what has led you to this point where it comes to love. Some Aries are going to experience this more in terms of money, but I think the vast majority of Aries are going to come to understand what love means to you in a much more empowered sense, come to understand love and the deeper dynamics that are playing out. And really, you are preparing in 3 weeks from now, there is a eclipse happening in your opposite sign. And I'm talking about that in the monthly horoscopes. I'm talking about that in these weekly horoscopes as well. And really, I think that this week is going to form the foundation of some important understandings that are going to further inform whatever choices, whatever occurrences happen 3 weeks down the road. And so whatever you appreciate, okay, understand that it's leading to some very important changes just a little bit further down the road. Hello, fabulous Taurus. It's your ruling planet, Venus, that is speaking in conversation with Mars and with Saturn. Now, I look at these together, and it does suggest to me that you're looking at, on one level, you're looking at levels of partnership. It is Saturn, after all, in your opposite sign. However, Venus moving through the part of the sky that has to do with career and the achievement of goals. I mean, you put this together and it does suggest that it's almost as if I'm seeing that you desire greater advancement. You desire to really pour your heart and soul into your work right now, and you're wondering if the support is there, if that can be matched. Well, the only way you're going to know that is to talk, really is what it comes down to, is to communicate. Because at the same time, remember, Venus is speaking in harmony with Mars moving through a part of the sky that has to do with work, with your workload. And it looks like the workload is great. It's actually filling you with energy. It's actually really inspiring. But it's you that maybe wants greater responsibility. It's you that maybe wants greater advancement as well. And so make sure that you're just open about it. You're talking about it. You're stating your desires and you're stating your willingness. That's really what it comes down to. Be willing to talk to your partner, whether it's in love, which it will be for most of you, but also in terms of business partnerships as well. Because if you are willing to do that, and if you are able to do that, to communicate more freely and more honestly as well, I think you're going to find that there's a tremendous amount of support to actually propel you into the future towards greater achievement. Hello, fabulous Gemini. Well, your ruling planet Mercury is moving through Aquarius, supreme harmony for your sign, and is speaking in harmony with other power players in the sky, as I spoke about in the intro, Jupiter and Pluto. And so it is as if you are feeling sprung with hope, if you will, is what I'm seeing. I'm literally seeing you kind of like take a leap into the air. If I had to put an image to this symbolism, there's like an energy of being lifted, an energy of optimism, an energy of hope that's happening for you as well. And all of this is speaking to elements of your career on the one hand, because Mercury is moving through a part of the sky that has to do with career for you. And also there's an element here of you feeling a sense of really feeling like the changes that are happening now are really good, are empowering you. The changes that are happening now are also about creating greater wealth for yourself, where you're able to understand the connection between the changes you need to create to experience greater abundance and how that directly feeds into what it is that you're doing for your career. I have to say, if you are one of those Geminis out there who's self-employed, this would be a good time. And I know it'll be a little bit challenging because we do have Aries, a new moon building towards Aries, but this is a time for you to consider raising your prices, okay? And seeing what is kicked up for you, because it looks like there's a lot of faith and also there's likely to be a lot of reward as well for that. Even if it kicks up some of your fears, okay, like towards the end of the week and into next week, still, it may be worth it to consider what you could gain as a result of actually asking for more, believing that what you're putting into the world is worthy of you receiving more, because very often life responds to our expectations of it and our requests of it as well. And so this is a time to alter your requests so that you are asserting a greater sense of self-worth and in turn are attracting a lot more as well. Hello, fabulous Cancer. Well, Mercury is in harmony to your sign, moving through Pisces, a fellow water sign, and then you've got Mercury speaking to Jupiter in your sign. Jupiter now is comfortably direct, okay? And this is sort of the last hurrah before Jupiter moves on a little bit further. Once we get into the summer, Jupiter will move out of your sign and into the sign of Leo. And so this is really a great time for you to just get really clear on how you're going to use this Jupiterian energy. Ultimately, Jupiter is about getting you to see your options a lot more broadly than maybe you did before and to consider the possibilities for your life in a much more expanded way as well. So be open to that process. What I really like about this week for you more than anything is it looks like there are easy conversations taking place with partners. There's an easy understanding of the support that is available to you. And there is a very strong desire that you have to actually feel better and to actually be better, to actually embrace what it is that you most desire to do, what projects you most want to work at, and your creativity is just lit up. So use that to your advantage right now. Some really great ideas are going to be coming forward, and you will use them towards your big career breakthroughs that are coming up next week and that I've spoken about in the monthly horoscopes for you as well. So take advantage of this time. It really is very special because it is leading you to some important next steps and some important career developments. Hello, fabulous Leo. Well, this week we've got Venus moving in your opposite sign or continuing to move through your opposite sign, which just tends to make you, kind of hot. It tends to make you, and what I mean by that is attractive. It tends to make you attractive. And with that attractiveness, you are going to invite experiences. That's what happens when Venus moves through your opposite sign, or even Venus moving through your own sign as well. So you can keep that in mind for future months ahead. However, right now, Venus moving through your opposite sign, speaking in harmony with Mars, does suggest, first and foremost, that there are some conversations that are set to take place, some flirtation, especially considering online flirtations, email flirtations, text message type of flirtations, that kind of thing, very likely now. And what's also happening is that Saturn, because as I spoke of in the intro, Saturn is also speaking with Venus this week. When I look at this conversation, these two taking place, it's this whole idea between what's said and what's real. How much of what you're seeing is being interpreted by you, and how much is the actual reality of what is being presented to you. Now, it isn't Neptune energy here, right? If Neptune was involved, I'd kind of say, okay, wait, maybe this person's not who they say they are. That's not what I'm seeing. But what I am seeing is that there is a need for you to consider, why is it that you're responding the way that you are? What part of you is this interaction touching on? I do think that you are going to be made aware of how maybe being in conversation with, whether it's with an established partner and you're exchanging more text messages, there could be that whole notion of, well, I thought you meant this when you said that type of thing. Or maybe if you're open to love, it could just be somebody that you're meeting online. Regardless, it does look like there really is an opportunity here for you now to embrace the possibility that by being more grounded in the reality of the other person, it actually can strengthen the bond that you have with that other person. So see what it is, what news it is that comes forward, because it does look like it's almost as if you really want to be with this person, you really want to be close, you want this person a part of your daily life, even of your home life, but that's the thing that maybe is not so easy to actually do just about now. That doesn't mean it can't happen a little bit into the future, but right about now, you may have to be mindful of some limitations. But ultimately, these limitations are about your healing and are about your expansion as well. So be open to the lessons, be open to the process, and be open to communicating. Hello, fabulous Virgo. What an interesting week we have for you. Your ruler, Mercury, speaking in harmony with other power players in the sky, and your ruler, Mercury, moving through your opposite house, which is making you chatty about love or with the person that you love. And I do think that this week actually is so important in your understanding, and really this whole idea of you moving closer towards love through a level of mind, feeling like the love that you need is available to you, and it certainly is. When I look at that, it does suggest that right about now, your partner is going to be especially important to you. The desires and wants of your partner are especially important to you. And if you can, open yourself and embrace that whole process of having to spend time, having to conversate more, having to actually consider other perspectives that are brought about through your partner, I think you're going to find yourself really finding a new sense of commonality that maybe you haven't been aware of in a while, or maybe hadn't really been aware of before. And so if you've been in a long-term partnership, this week should bring about sort of a fresh energy, if you will. After all, Mercury is a very youthful planet, at least as the ruler of Gemini, is strongly associated with youth. And so with that element, there is a freshness to this energy. However, at the same time, Mercury is still your ruler, which is a very grounded energy, an earth energy. And you should find a way to blend those very nicely where it comes to love, where it comes to partnership. And even if you're not attached, your understanding of love and the people in which you're communicating with can certainly be part of this process as well. Hello, fabulous Libra. Well, Venus speaking with Mars in your sign does suggest love is especially important to you now. Venus moving through a sign that is very harmonious to yours, fellow air sign Aquarius, as I spoke about in the intro. And this does suggest that your flirtation, you can get your flirtation on, okay? If you're with somebody, it's with them that you can start to really enjoy their company a lot more and feel like you're sharing some fun moments. If you are not, then it's just you being out and about and communicating with other people that will allow that whole process to take place for you. Now, what I really like about this week for you is this element of you sort of, yes, you're having those flirtations as well, and yet at the same time, you're going to be asked to be mindful of the limits of those flirtations also. And so keep that in mind, because it does look like a really great week for you to understand that sometimes flirtation is just flirtation. Sometimes it's just fun for the moment. It's a friendly thing. Try not to make it more than that. Try to keep it fun and light as well. If you are in an established partnership, you can have that. You can do that a lot more easily. You can have those fun moments while knowing that there are also some serious moments as well, and those elements together is what brings you closer to another person. But if you're open to love, try not to have too many expectations. It's just not a healthy thing to do, to have all these heavy duty expectations, because what it ends up doing is it ends up shifting the energy, and ultimately the energy you need to be with somebody or to foster an initial connection needs to be light. Because that's the energy that sort of allows people to experience the very beginnings of connection. And so allow that to happen. Try not to make it too heavy too quickly, okay? Because ultimately I don't think that that's going to help you, and understand that whatever part of the spectrum you're in right now where it comes to love, you are moving in a direction of feeling a greater sense of honesty, at the very least, in what it is that you want and hope for where it comes to love. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. Well, Venus is speaking in harmony with your ancient ruler, Mars, and is also speaking this week with Saturn moving through your sign in a conversation of tension, as I spoke about in the introduction. And to me, when I put these together, it does suggest that, on the one hand, yes, love is an issue here for you this week, a learning opportunity for you this week, of course. And I think a lot of us actually, if not most of us, are going to be experiencing major themes and understanding where it comes to love, because Venus is so active, especially as we progress through the week. However, what's really interesting about these dynamics for you is that right now Venus is moving through a part of the sky for you that has to do with home. It has to do with foundations. It has to do with the ground on which you stand. And what I find really interesting about this, considering these energies, is it does suggest that really, it is love that is likely to trigger some of what's been happening very deep within you. Ultimately, the part of the sky that Venus is in has to do with understanding your past, understanding how your earliest experiences have shaped you, and how safe you feel in the world. And really, I would add, because this is Venus and because of the nature of these conversations, it's also how safe you feel to love, and how much it is that you can trust enough to love based on your earliest experiences. Well, all of that is set to get some of your awareness in order to get some of your healing energy, in order to go to a place where you're more consciously choosing your experiences in love. Now, if you are attached, it is very likely that there's a part of you that's going to want to have this person more part of your home life, okay? So you may be wanting to move in with this person. You may wish that they were wanting to be closer to you as well. Or they may be sort of in your sphere. They may actually be living with you if it's a long-term partnership. However, it looks like there's still some distance where maybe they're not around as much. Well, all of this is set to get some of your really acceptance is what the universe is going to ask you to do. The universe is going to ask you to do the best you can to create a home for yourself that feels comfortable, that feels safe, and trust that the love will be there for you to share it with someone in the right moments and in the perfect moments. So if your partner can't be around that much, well, there's going to have to be a level of you accepting that. If it is that you want to live with somebody, but that's not really manifesting as quickly as you'd like, well, it is Saturn saying be patient. Ultimately, though, what I find really interesting is, as I said in the intro, Venus speaking in harmony with your ancient ruler does suggest that the attractions you feel, the energy you feel, the desires that you feel, bring with them an ease, bring with them a sense of hope. And there's also an understanding that whatever limitations may appear to be there, you are going to find your way through them. And you do see how they are just a part of the process right now, but will in its own time move you towards greater love and, of course, greater wisdom as well, as is the purpose of all things, and as is the force of life, ultimately is moving us in that direction of greater love and greater wisdom as well. So trust the process for yourself this week. If you're attached, just be mindful of that your job is to accept this other person, not try to change them. And if you are open to love, that lesson is especially true. And really finding that place of comfort within yourself will be the greatest thing you can do to open yourself to greater and greater love. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. This week, your ruling planet is speaking in harmony with Mars, which does suggest that the best of you is able to come forward on a level of mind, especially. And especially early in the week is a great time to schedule conversations, schedule meetings as well. Mercury is moving through a part of the sky that has to do with home and has to do with what you need to feel really safe within yourself, within your own body, and really comfortable within yourself as well. And you add to this element of Jupiter right now moving through a part of the sky that has to do with wealth for you, is ultimately what it comes down with. It has to do with wealth. It has to do with dealing with financial institutions, and a lot of the themes, or some of the themes, I would have covered in the annual horoscopes for this year. Well, you put these together and it does suggest an amazing time to really connect with people from your past in order to create greater wealth for yourself. And I'm also seeing if you have in any way, if you've wanted to get a loan or if you've tried to get a bursary before, it didn't really work out, this is the time to go back and to start and really apply again. This is a great time to consider who you already know, who you already have connections with, because ultimately where Mercury is in the sky does suggest sort of early connections. It is a great time for you to make those connections again in order to, and especially if these people are in any way related to any kind of financial institutions, this is a time to go apply for the money. I think you may surprise yourself by, even if you were rejected before, this could be an amazing time when actually it does seem to come through. And it's more important or more significant than that is what I'm seeing is there's an easy understanding of what it is that you need to communicate, what it is that needs to happen. And it isn't just that it's about wealth, but also just prosperity all around. Also, Mercury is communicating with Pluto, which has slowly but surely and throughout this decade will bring about changes in your finances, you moving towards power in your finances. You put these all together and it does suggest a really strong financial week for you as part of a larger trend as well that's leading you in a direction of greater empowerment with your finances, even if it doesn't look like that on the surface. Okay, it's part of the process because ultimately Jupiter and Pluto, their nature is to create space. And what that means is endings need to happen sometimes in order for that space to come. But once that space comes, that's what's needed so that the universe can rush in and create really amazing prosperity for you. And I think that this is a process that is going to be heightened for you this week. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. I do think this is going to be an important week for you, a busy week for you, for a few different reasons. One is the fact that Pluto in your sign is going to be speaking with Mercury in the earlier part of the week. And then your ruling planet, Saturn, will be speaking with Venus in the later part of the week. But also because you're building next week, early next week, an important new moon taking place that is speaking with Pluto in your sign, yes. But considering its position, it's sort of on one of the angles, if you will, for those of you who are students of astrology. Given its position in your sky, it does suggest an overall really important week, building towards a really important breakthrough for you as well. And so I put these together, and it does suggest to me that right about now you're having some really important talks, really hopeful talks. You're motivated, you're feeling particularly ambitious, particularly inspired, you're taking action, and it's filling you with energy. And at the same time, you're becoming very aware of how far you actually can go on your own. You're becoming very aware that ultimately, as much as you want to make connections, as much as you hope other people are going to be part of this with you, there is an understanding that you are going to have to rely on something within yourself if you're going to create real prosperity for yourself. Now, ultimately, this is meant to empower you. So embrace this part of the process. This is meant to empower you. This is meant to fill your life with hope. And this is meant to show you that you have something within you that you can trust, that is not dependent on other persons, and that your prosperity is not dependent on other persons as well. I do think that this is a time when you are approaching some really big breakthroughs, okay, as I said. And the buildup of that can feel really, it can feel like things aren't working, but the opposite is actually the case. Things are working really well for you. You are headed towards some career changes, and all of that is going to eventually, in the bigger picture, lead you towards greater prosperity. If you can trust that process, you'll see how there's actually evidence right now in your life that you are being led in the direction of greater abundance. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. Well, Venus moving through your sign makes you particularly attractive, makes you aware of love, your desire to be loved, and your desire to be seen as really beautiful is what it comes down to. And so you may be pursuing experiences that are part of that. And what I find really interesting about this week is you've got this harmonious conversation happening with Mars, with Venus in your sign, which does suggest that things are actually working for you. Things are actually working out. You've got the vision there. You understand how, because Mars is retrograde, you understand how the actions you've taken in the past have led you to this moment, and how, whether it's love or whether it's a beauty that's within you, it's all part of the process of your understanding of you deserving to receive really nice events, things, attention, or even just treatment, right? Deserving to receive kindness from other people as well, deserving to receive compassion from other people as well. Ultimately, though, there's a strong, like, sort of harmonious vision energy, and so it's almost like you're glimpsing the future, and that's a place you're really comfortable. And so you're glimpsing the future, trust that. Even though you've got Venus speaking with Mars, like right around the same time towards the end of the week, even though Venus is speaking with Saturn as well. So at the same time that Venus is speaking with Mars, Venus is also speaking with Saturn. And this is a tougher conversation, but it does suggest that you can see how, yes, you've got that vision and you see where you want to go. And at the same time, you can see that there's steps that need to happen and steps that you need to take. Embrace that. That really is where a lot of your power is going to be. So embrace that opportunity that is there, and embrace the chance to actually take steps in the direction you desire to go. It really is one at a time, okay? And it looks like, it's almost as if for your career, you see how you've got to maybe put some of your desires to really have fun and enjoy in the moment, not necessarily to the side, but almost like I'm seeing you having to redefine what's fun for you, so that it is in line with your higher ambitions. And where it's hard to do that, you're going to have to accept that sometimes it's not so much about fun, but it is about thinking about the big picture of your life. So regardless of what limitations appear on your sense of fun, know that this is all part of moving you towards greater achievement, and of course towards greater love and wisdom as well. Hello, fabulous Pisces. Well, Mercury moving through your sign, having power conversations all around, does suggest to me a time when you are experiencing some wonderful breakthroughs. You are experiencing a renewed sense of hope, of optimism, and an easy understanding of what changes you can create to lead towards the changes that you most desire, especially if those changes have to do with significant power moves like the kind that help you move towards your hopes and your wishes and your dreams for your life. What I really like about this is that there is this merger between your major life lessons, which have to do with connecting to source. That's a huge lesson for you in this lifetime, to move in that direction, to integrate connecting to source into your life. And yet at the same time, there is an understanding that by connecting with source, there is something to be gained from having clarity as well on a level of mind and actually taking action in support of that clarity. Overall, though, I do think that there is a sort of a fun energy, especially as you start the week. So if you can embrace that and embrace, like, even if it's like, I'm seeing this sort of like mind games, if you will, but not the sense that have to do with power, right? More like mind games that have to do with crossword puzzles, okay? If you can get together with people to enjoy their company, but to also stimulate your mind, that's when I think you're going to notice a lot of creativity just unleashed. And for those of you who have kids, I think that it really is going to be your kids that inspire some amazing conversations for you right now. Conversations that really just blow your mind and help you see your life very differently than you did before. If you don't have kids, just spending a time with kid or someone who is a big kid might just do the same thing. Well, thank you so much for watching. To all signs, it'll be a great week. Enjoy. Thank you for watching. It'll be a great month. Be fabulous and enjoy.